You ever heard pros or coaches talk about occupying space? Well, it's a concept that's really helpful in Apex, and this game happened to have several examples of it, so I'm going to break it down for you using this gameplay. There's some other stuff we'll talk about too, like proper cover usage and then also how to pace your battles, but we'll get to that as they come up. So when you hot drop, there's kind of two methods you can take to it. First is you're going to try and establish a foothold, which is what we're talking about today. And then the second method, that's still a good method, is you're just a crazy man and you're running around everywhere causing chaos. And that's an okay method too. We talk about that in some of my other videos about how powerful chaos is in the battlefield. In this method, since we're holding this area, that I'm trying to get a quick knock on Octane because he just did a fight, but really it's to tell him, hey, we are down here, and if you just slide down this, you're going to run into some problems. And that's a great way to start this off, but the issue I ran into here is I repeat the same area over and over. Decent piece of cover, but yeah, it's a well-deserved knock for them, so I was done. But my teammates are awesome, and they res me in a second here. But while I'm down, it gives us a chance to look at the space that we're trying to occupy. So we're trying to hold that center, which is great because you can really only get flanked from one side. Now, the best space to occupy is areas that put people at a disadvantage when they try to push you. So if you're looking at, well, you'll see it later, there's big open spaces with rocks and stuff, and if you have height on that, that's amazing. But in this case, we've got hallways, right? Little death funnels with very little cover that they are going to have to push through in order to get us. And that is an amazing place to work from. So we've got the potential of an amazing position, right? They have to funnel through these death boxes, but it's not going to do us any good if our heads are all down in the death boxes at the same time. I'm taking my turn getting looted up, and then I'm going to take a different angle and watch that hallway while my teammates get into the boxes. Now, we don't really calm that, we just work together enough, we know that, and I understand that playing with randos, that's very difficult to do. But you have to accept that that's the right way to do it, and you may not always get top tier loot. And that's okay, because you should be effective with what you can get. You don't always need gold stuff to get a kill. Now, bullets go a long way, guys, so this angle back here is amazing for holding that far hallway. In fact, if you can hold that far hallway from that angle, and they could hold the one I was just at, that would be perfect. But, you know, that's not the way it really works in this game, so, you know, take what you can get. So now I did a video a little bit ago about like how long it takes to actually res and heal up. So we need to prevent this pushing from happening. And once we're able to do that, which this flame did amazing at, it's now not our job to watch this hallway. We have to go take a different angle. Again, different angles than what your friends are watching. Now I can do that and simultaneously watch our backside and listen for any problems, and that is an ideal spot to be. Now this is where you need to apply your Watson wires, caustic barrels, catalyst, goo, and all that kind of stuff. If you don't have that stuff, it's okay. Just use your audio. It's amazing what you can hear once you start paying attention. I heard that person slide down, and this was a risky push because somebody could have come from behind, but you know, it worked out.
Good job, boys.
Okay, so that was a lot of information. So let's break down some of those concepts, but as an aggressor. So they're occupying some space just outside the building. I would like to flank by taking height. Now I do a terrible push. That was way too much damage to take a push off of, but you know, whatever, I did it. So Pathy recognizes that height is important and that somebody can flank there. So he does a good job in occupying the space by watching the flanks and being able to address them, right? If you're 10 million miles away, but you still see what angle a person can flank from, it's probably not an effective move. That buys them time to reposition out of the open if they need to. But they don't. So them not repositioning into the building gives us the opportunity to exploit one of those 20 different directions to flank. And this just so happens to be one of them. So now, do you remember the center room in the last example and how I was watching the flank? This is why. Because if it's not me as one person, it is a third party from another team that is going to come up. So they were all facing one direction. And while that's great for me, not great for them. Now, I could have done better with cover here. I could have used this piece and stayed here, but this Pathy ate the arc star like a champ, and you know, the rest is history. With that example fresh in your mind, let's take a look at where we are right now, and you tell me if this is a space that we should continue to occupy. I hope you got the answer is no, because you can get flanked from literally everywhere. There's like a minuscule amount of cover, like the smallest ever, and so we decide to make this rescue mission. We know we're going to move cover to cover on our way up here, and I think the important part about this fight is using your cover effectively. That Bloodhound was way too far out. I shouldn't have been able to do a 1x 100 damage on him like that. This Ashe, too far out again as well. She was going for the push, I get it, but she doesn't use her cover at all. She could have, you know, dipped a little bit earlier and maybe done a peeking kind of attack on me instead. get some cover between me and this person. I think the trouble here is she was ADSing up close, and that slowed down her speed too much. So that was just lucky on my part. He's out in the open, right? Even if you have a teammate that's fighting somebody and you think they're low, take the second and take that height. If you look at this ledge right here, he could have had a little bit of high ground. You maybe even use this tree and we could have had a little bit more of a fight. Even if your teammate is fighting somebody, that doesn't mean it's an instant push. That means it's an instant get a good angle on them. And being out in the open does not always equal or does not always make a fair trade-off on getting a good angle. So this last example makes sense. I was able to res my teammates off of mobile respawn in one of those death boxes, and we end up over here. Kind of a bad spot, but it actually works out, because what's one of the things we got to do to occupy flank or occupy space is limit the number of flanks you have. We have 0 spots that people can flank us from. It's all right in front of us. Now, granted, we don't have a lot of cover, so widening our angles is what I'm trying to do here by working off the death boxes, but it's very difficult, right? That's where our lifeline comes in clutch here, because number one, just like insta-res everything, and then also he's really good at using his ultimate to provide us a little bit more cover. That little bit is a big deal in these close-up environments. So let's actually break this position down and see if it's as bad as we think. So we got flanks that are covered. Our angles, can't really get widened out that much, but they also don't need to. We don't have a lot of space we have to work with. So the last thing that we're looking for is if people are going to push us, they're at a disadvantage. And lo and behold, they are. If they are going to try and push us, this is going to happen every single time. We may not get an exact knock, but it's going to be darn close. So we've got a great place to occupy, but we also have to take advantage of a solid hit like that. I thought there was only one team left, so we just went right in. I got insecure about my shots and missed, my failure there. Could have used this column as cover and could have peeked around it a little more instead of rolling out into the open like this. But lessons learned from watching your video. They did a good job on occupying space. I got nailed from the right. They had wide angles and they had limited areas that people could flank them from. Now everybody's just kind of making their last effort push here and just opening themselves up way too wide, except for this team, right? I hate to give them credit because they beat me, but they did an excellent job occupying that little corner there and making it an effective place to win the game from. By watching these videos, I hope you see the benefits of knowing your flanks, having the discipline of watching them, because if it's not that team, it's a third party, we all know it, and then choosing your location so that any push that happens, they're in a position of disadvantage. Now, I think the real reason I lost this game is because you didn't like and subscribe yet. No, I'm just kidding. But if you did like the video, consider it, okay? I got some other good stuff. I'll see you in the next video. Good luck out there, and go snag a win.